Hello, on behalf of the CALBO Training Institute, thank you for joining us today. You're about to view a recording of a webinar originally presented live to CALBO members on July 10th, 2025. Welcome to the latest installment of CALBO's Industry Spotlight Series, AI in the Building Departments, Navigating the Hype, Finding the Help, and Learning How to Trust It. This session features Brendan Levy, founder of Ichi, as he shares insights on how artificial intelligence is shaping the future of our field. A special thank you to Michael Lowe and Tim Ratter as well for sharing their insights. This webinar is part of CALBO's Industry Spotlight series, which features timely, expert-led content tailored to the CALBO community. The series highlights emerging trends and innovation in the building safety industry, promotes collaboration with industry partners, and shares practical tools and insights for building department professionals. Please note, while some examples may reference specific companies, products, or services, the content is only intended for educational purposes and does not represent an endorsement by CALBO. As this is a recorded presentation, there is no opportunities for CEUs. Thank you for your understanding.
Oh, hello, everyone, and thank you so much for coming to this webinar. And I'm Brandon Levy, the CEO and founder at Ichi, and I also have two people here from our team, if you'd like to take yourselves off camera for a moment, Mike and Tim. Mike is our in-house chief building official and head of jurisdiction business, and Tim leads design here at Ichi. And yeah, we'll be in the background to help answer questions and chime in later as well. So thank you guys for joining and helping out. I'm gonna turn off my camera as we get into the slides. I guess the poll will close in a moment. Oh, great. All right. Thank you, Anne. So jumping in, we are here for three primary reasons today. And first is the reason that we founded Ichi is have a very deep belief that the physical spaces that we live, our homes and cities that we occupy, have a profound impact on our lives. And in many ways, but most notably around our sense of community, economic opportunity, and access to human needs, where we believe housing is one of those and should be accessible to everyone. And so as a company, we have a mission of helping to make that better in the world. Two, I love this industry. So while I've worked in tech for the last 20 years, early in my career, I worked on domestic nuclear security projects at Sandia National Labs and then had a software startup for about a decade. I grew up in construction. And so my dad had an HVAC business for about 40 years of my life. And literally my first memory is going to job sites with him when I was 5. And he put me in the sheet metal shop when I was 9. And then my wife and I later remodeled the house that we live in now. So I'm sitting in the basement of it with our bare hands. So in short, I love the feeling of building something. 3 is we believe that AI and technology can massively impact our industry for the better. And this was a dream that started about 6 years ago, and when the seed was originally planted, and now this business and this opportunity is really coming to life. So today we're going to explore this topic. Like AI has been stirring both excitement and uncertainty across building departments. But this isn't just a conversation about technology, it's about trust. It's about time. It's about people like you, because AI, when applied carefully and intentionally, can become a transformative co-pilot, not a replacement, for those of you navigating some of the most complex and critical work in the built environment. You are the connective tissue of every community's growth. Homes, small businesses, schools, infrastructure, all of it flows through your desks, inboxes, and job sites. It makes it safe, it makes it compliant and possible. You are the stewards of public safety and champions of forward progress. And yet, so often your work goes unrecognized. It's not glamorous, you're not cutting ribbons or breaking ground, but without you, those moments wouldn't exist. You're the unsung heroes of the built environment, navigating mountains of code, deciphering complex documents, and managing the human side of every project. And while you do all of this, you're fielding a constant stream of questions from experienced architects to homeowners submitting their first hand-drawn plans. You're caught in the middle of communication breakdowns, delays, and growing expectations. And the pressure is nonstop, and that makes your work not only essential, but heroic. Jurisdictions everywhere are reporting similar issues: plan review backlogs, overwhelmed permit counters, and a constant need to train up new staff. Most of you are doing more with less time, less staff, and sometimes less clarity on what's expected. The challenge isn't just code knowledge, it's communication, collaboration, and responsiveness across teams with the public. What adds to the pressure is that the industry itself is aging out. Many experienced planet reviewers and inspectors are nearing retirement, and the pipeline of new talent simply isn't keeping up. Even as new professionals enter the field, the number of exits exceeds the number of incoming staff, forcing teams to carry more weight with fewer people over time. Just to put some numbers to this, I think like latest data that we see from the ICC is that the average age of a plan examiner is approaching 60 years old, and it's expected that upwards of 80% will be retiring in the next 10 years. It's a systemic challenge across the industry. And also, so you're aware of like architecture firms and the like that we also work with, they're struggling to find experienced professionals as well that they can work with inside of their own firm. So this is something that's ubiquitous, like jurisdictions and on the commercial side. Now, layer on top of that the growing demands placed on cities from the state, from residents, from developers. We're in the middle of an urgent push to build more, especially housing. Faster permit timelines, accelerated review processes, and increasing complexity are all converging at once. The result, a system that's reaching a breaking point, and we need a solution that doesn't just move faster, we need ones that help the people doing the work carry it more sustainably. So now let's zoom into one of the biggest sources of complexity, the code itself. Just to put some numbers to it, California's Title 24 is about 10,000 pages alone with 40,000 different codes. Then there's hundreds of reference standards, each that are hundreds to thousands of pages long. Like for reference, the CBC and CFC like have 84 different volumes from the NFPA alone. And then add on municipal amendments, zoning, erratas, state legislation, etc. Also, that codes change every 3 years, if not more frequently, for the codes themselves, new legislation and more. Not to mention recent development with AB 306 and challenges that we're all navigating as it relates to that. So this is a living, breathing, and ever-expanding universe. You're not just navigating a book; you're navigating a web of interlinked systems, and it's constantly shifting. So humans were not designed to navigate such a large intellectual space with ease. It is unreasonable to expect someone to do this well in a timely manner with predictable and high quality results. To that end, even the most experienced plan examiners and building officials with the most encyclopedic memories of codes that I've worked with have things they don't know or don't know the latest versions of. Now, there's on top of all of that, like then there's the plans and construction documents themselves. Every architect has a different way of organizing, labeling, and styling sheets. There's no universal location for something as basic as an occupancy or construction type. Some documents are clean, others bury critical data in various notes and in the 150th page of the document, and that's just one document set. For a single project, you may need to review architectural plans, structural calculations, energy calculations, drainage reports, arborist reports, manufacturer specification, deferred submittals, and more. For complex projects, like you're easily looking at hundreds, if not thousands of pages of technical detail. So there's one thing that you never have enough of, and that's time. And time is the one thing that we see everybody just wanting more of, and we can't get it back. And so the questions at the counter, emails, phone calls, the re-reviews, the coordination with other departments, applicants waiting for answers when you're spread thin, everything slows down, and those slowdowns have real impact on builders and project timelines and on community development, and also on your own mental load. So what we need isn't just like more hands, we need smarter tools that can give time back. Layering on to this challenge is the communication burden. So one of the key things that we see that makes this like really hard for everyone on this call is you're not just responding to like one person about one thing. You're working across a spectrum of experience levels. Like one moment you may be speaking with a licensed engineers with 30 years of code knowledge, and the next a homeowner trying to navigate their ADU fix it yourself remodel. And the level of clarity, patience, and responsiveness that it requires is enormous. And the core part of the role that often goes unspoken, but it's part of the job, is so complex and so human. Like AI tools won't replace the nuance of what you do, but they can help ease the load and provide a foundation for better, faster communication across the entire range of work you do every day. So the ultimate trade-off is going to be time. Like as jurisdictions, you hold a high bar and need to particularly given the life safety importance of most codes. Therefore, quality is not something that we can sacrifice. The net result is not having enough time or long delays of projects. And not only is this costly, none of us want this, this also leads to challenges of public perceptions within our communities. So this is where AI comes in and becomes relevant, not in replacing your expertise, but in helping you move faster without sacrificing accuracy and quality. AI can process code books, document sets, and construction sets, and context across trades at scale. It can draft emails, code comments, or interpretations, and it does this in seconds. This is the difference between spending an hour researching and getting a helpful draft in under 5 seconds. And this is a big way of how we get time back without notable increases to our city budgets. So AI isn't meant to be a decision maker. I'd encourage you to think of it more as your co-author. And there's a really important fundamental part of being human of why this is a really great way of thinking about it. So a lot of research shows that as humans, it takes us 5 to 10 times as long to create something than to edit something, particularly in a creative endeavor like writing or designing. And so the question with AI is if you can do something 50, 70, even like 90% faster, your jobs become faster, clearer, and more enjoyable, and it gets rid of that blank page. Like it removes the cold start problem that a lot of us face, especially when we've got hundreds of emails in our inbox that we need to respond to. But it also does something equally important. It improves consistency. In many departments, people come from different backgrounds with varying levels of experience, communication styles, and sometimes even language barriers. And the way one person writes a comment or drafts a response may be totally different from someone else. This variance can cause confusion, it reduces confidence from applicants, and can slow the whole process down. So with purpose-built AI tools that are trained for your specific domain, you can raise the floor across your department. The quality of communication becomes more consistent, the voice is steadier, the answers are clear, and the whole team will benefit, not because it replaces your human strength, but because it amplifies your collective effectiveness. Yes, automated plan review will be an incredible output of AI, and it's something that a number of folks are working on. It's something that we're working on, or we'll start to release elements of it soon. But it's really important to note that that's only one part of the bigger problem. Like, as an example, like everybody focuses so much on permitting, and yes, there's a lot we can do to improve permitting. However, really challenges span everywhere from entitlement to maintenance and everywhere in between, given the complexity of this space. And so there's a lot of opportunities to help in our day-to-day, as well as provide some key levels of automation in parts of our job. And so AI can help all of us get our jobs done better, faster, and more efficiently, help us up-level our skill sets more effectively than ever before, and free our mind to do the work that matters most. So of course, none of this matters without trust. And in this industry, very similar to healthcare, finance, and law, trust isn't optional. Like this is a regulated industry, and the threshold of using AI in these domains is far higher than any other. And it's because we're not just dealing with like opinions or productivity. We're actually dealing with life safety, public accountability, accessibility, legal defensibility of every decision that you make. And so different than other industries, like you're not writing marketing copy or a poem or summarizing a novel. You're referencing specific legally adopted codes and standards and applying them to real world situations that vary from project to project. So every interpretation, every comment, and every review has to be grounded in truth, code truth, or document truth. That means that the tools that you use should provide information that's valid, accurate, and contextualized to the project at hand. And if you can't trust the tools you're using, like it doesn't matter how fast they are, how sophisticated the system is, they're not going to be as helpful or potentially dangerous. And that's why trust isn't just part of the equation. It's really the foundation of the decisions that you'll make in terms of adopting AI within your jurisdictions. So let's take a moment to talk about like what AI really is and how it works behind the scenes. So it's easy to think of AI as magic, but it's not. At its core, today's most powerful AI systems are built on what's called neural networks. So these are mathematical architectures that are inspired by how the human brain works. So these networks can understand patterns in language, design, and logic at a scale that no human could match. And so you can kind of think of it like all the power that exists in a human brain, but with access to every written or image piece of information that's ever existed in the world, all accessible at one time. What's revolutionary is how these models now operate not by copying data, but by building a semantic understanding of how concepts can relate to each other. And so this means that AI can interpret code sections not just by keyword matching, which is traditionally how we think about navigating the code, but by understanding its meaning in context. And it's what allows AI to navigate a complex space like construction codes or construction documents or other information and provide nuanced support even when the problem doesn't have a clear black or white answer. And just to double click on that last one a little bit, because this is a really common question we hear from jurisdictions, is like, how does AI help in situations where there isn't necessarily a prescriptive answer or interpretation is required? And this is a time where it's not about like kind of our traditional software products with a deterministic result. It's about having a co-pilot partner that can help you think through those different interpretations in a faster, smarter, more reliable way than you could before, and enable it to you to have a more coherent, consistent opinion more quickly for your own team and for the community. And so AI has become an incredibly powerful and surprisingly accurate at times. And it's really important to not just think of it as the traditional computer workflow system. Like, we really encourage you to anthropomorphize it and think of it as a fellow coworker, as a human. And so the technology is getting incredibly powerful. Like, it's really extraordinary, just even in the last 6 to 12 months, what's happened. But just like the smartest human on earth, it's not going to be perfect and probably won't be for a very long time, if ever. And so, not because the computer system can't figure out complexities of the code or construction, but it's not a human that can understand every situation's nuanced complexities. So, oh, and actually, just one thing I want to add on to that is like a figurative way that we've been talking about AI, or I'd really encourage everyone to think about it, at least as like we think about building these AI systems, is I always go to the Star Wars as a comparison, is everyone on this call, like you're in the pilot seat of the starship, you're the Luke Skywalker, where AI is going to be really helpful as being R2D2 in the back. It's that smart machine that's really helping you do your job better, faster, more efficiently. So, but let's talk about the difference between like general AI tools versus purpose-built tools. So general purpose tools or models are good at everything. So these would be things like the OpenAIs or Geminis and the like. The challenge though is they're not excellent at any one particular thing. And so when people talk about trustworthy AI and code compliance, it's tempting to think that there's like a single solution, like just add some context guardrails to what I'm talking about or some citations or some training, and then the problem is solved. But that's not how it works. Like in a regulated field like this one, trust comes from harmony across many systems working together. And so this is what we call purpose-built AI. It means combining general purpose models, large general purpose like AI engines that are trained on vast data sets, with purpose-built systems designed for specific tasks and contexts. So those systems might include document parsers, code detection engines, citation tools, version control, reasoning layers, content generation, and more. And so it's not just about doing one thing right. These systems, the purpose-built systems, are about coordinating dozens of elements seamlessly, very similar to like an orchestra where every instrument has a unique role, but the magic happens when they all play together in tune. And so the best purpose-built AI companions are not just going to use one model or one vendor with who they work with. They're going to use multiple general and specific models in concert, choosing the right tool for each job. So for example, some models are better at technical precision, others at summarization, others at interpreting unstructured documents. Bringing all of these together creates systems that aren't just smart, but helps to make sure that they're practical, grounded, and safe for you to rely on. One other analogy that I want to offer that we've been using recently is you could think of it a bit like in a construction project, there's a general contractor and they have a bunch of subcontractors they work with, and then those subcontractors have people with special skills. every one of those has something to bring to the table to get the whole job done and has a purpose in that system. The purpose-built AI tools are similar to that. It figures out all the subcontractors and all the specialists that need to work in concert to help you get your job done. So one of the biggest concerns, I would say this comes up in almost every conversation we have with jurisdictions that we hear around, is copyright. And so it, jurisdictions must protect the ownership rights of the construction documents that they receive. And that includes not just securely handling them in file storage, but also how the AI itself is built. So one of the biggest words that I want to focus on is training or trained, because this gets used a lot in AI discussions, but it's really important to double click on what that word means because it can mean a lot of different things in different contexts. But in general, training refers to the process of teaching an AI model new knowledge by analyzing data, and then it will adjust its parameters into its long-term memory. So you could think of it like making a new map based on what the model reads. While that can be a really powerful technique in some industries, in code compliance, this can be deeply problematic because those new maps may be built on copyright written material like architectural drawings or engineering plans, or codes that are actually published with like copyright protection as an example. So unless there's explicit permission from the owner or author of those documents, training on them could violate their copyright and ownership rights. And so that's why finding AI systems that use models but do not train on your content is key for the industry. The right tools process documents temporarily, securely, and solely within the scope of your workflow, not for teaching the model or creating general purpose capabilities. So as powerful as AI tools can be, their value can depend on the processes and expectations that surround their use. It's generally helpful for jurisdictions to develop a thoughtful approach for how AI supports the day-to-day work of plan review, permitting and inspections, code enforcement planning, and more, ensuring it fits within established practices and enhances rather than disrupts core responsibilities. So one way of thinking of it is think of AI like a highly advanced calculator. It can recall thousands of pages in seconds, summarize construction documents, and draft code comments or guidance. But just like a calculator, it doesn't replace your reasoning or your responsibility. So staff must still apply professional judgment, verify outputs, and ensure any work product, comments, emails, or inspection notes are still like accurate and appropriate. And so what we would recommend, or this is why jurisdictions should consider creating some type of like internal usage guideline. And these guidelines can outline best practices, clarify acceptable and prohibited uses, and also help to reinforce the importance of where human oversight is needed or required. And this helps to ensure that AI is positioned as a support tool, not just as a blind automation engine, enabling staff to work faster, communicate more clearly, and focus on high value tasks. And so with the right processes in place, with the right technology choices, jurisdictions can use AI to improve speed, quality, and consistency while still maintaining control, compliance, and the trust of the community. Most large projects involve multiple people, multiple reviewers like architectural, structure, fire, MEP, and more. But it doesn't stop within the walls of a building department. True collaboration spans the public and private sides. So plan reviewers, permit techs, inspectors, working with architects, engineers, owners, reps, and contractors, all interacting, asking questions, and interpreting responses together. So the best AI tools are going to be the ones that don't just deliver on speed or precision, but will also be ones that improve the user experience for everyone involved in these workflows. And so they help a permit tech answer a homeowner's question clearly and much more quickly than they ever could before. They help a plan checker write comments an architect can understand and act on, be very specific and precise to the exact codes that they need to make changes into their design documents about. They help ensure inspectors in the field aren't slowed down by ambiguity or conflicting information. So this is very much a team sport, and clarity is everything. So where AI can play a really amazing role is it can help be a connective tissue that raises the bar across all roles, aligning the quality, consistency, and speed of communication in ways that improve the outcomes for the entire community. It helps everyone play by the same rules of the game. And I really want to stress this point because, especially with a world that's so complicated, like construction codes and all the documents that we have to review, it's nearly impossible for everybody to operate with the same set of rules. I even mean like inside of one jurisdiction, just because that complexity is so high. And so where AI can help is bring that complexity down, improve quality of communications, and by doing that, suddenly we're all able to see the same information in the same way, in a way that we never could have before, in an ever-changing, complicated world. What I'm talking about is not a theoretical future. It is happening now. So just like we move from handwritten notes to typed reports to digital plans, we're now moving towards AI-assisted reviews. It's the natural evolution in how we manage complexity, and it's happening whether we lean into it or not. But here's what's especially exciting. This shift doesn't just help us work faster, it helps us feel better. Like when AI takes on the rote, repetitive, mentally draining work, like chasing code sections for 3 hours, or spending 25 minutes formatting email responses, or rewriting the same plan check comment for the 100th time, like it frees us up to do what humans do best, what all of you like skilled folks on this call were trained and educated and spend time doing, is to help you give you more space and time to think, problem solve, collaborate, and create. And so that means more energy for mentoring, more time for thorough reviews, more attention to how we serve our communities, more focus on the details that really matter, and less stress, less burnout, fewer nights spent catching up on what didn't get done during the day. AI isn't just about productivity, it's about sustainability, well-being, and restoring some of the joy to the work that we've chosen to do. So we have customers today that express in less than a month of integrating AI tools into their workflow, it doesn't just improve the quality and timelines of their work, they even see people learning more, being more creative, and showing up to work and meetings like less stressed and more prepared. So we started this presentation talking about heroes. That's you. You're doing the work that matters under more strain than ever. The right tools can make that work more manageable, more sustainable, and more satisfying. And AI, when built for you, gives you time back. It builds confidence. It helps you clarify your decisions and collaborate with your team. It gives you wings of sorts, as long as you can trust it. And so that concludes like the initial portion of the presentation. We want to pause here to answer some of the questions that came up during the presentation. And then also Anna's going to trigger off a couple of additional polling questions as well. And then from here, just going to give a very short intro on Ichi, and we'll give you about a 15-minute live demo of the product. And then, yeah, save some additional time for questions after that. So I'm looking at some of the, or Anne, yeah, would you mind? Thank you so much for launching the poll. I'm just looking at some of the questions here. Let's see. Looks like one of the questions is, can Ichi AI replace plan checkers or permit techs? What is stopping employers from replacing employees with AI? It's a great question. I think something that everyone is thinking about. And in my like personal opinion, I don't think it's the replacement of what's happening. That's not what we're observing. Like to be clear, there's parts of all of our jobs that are fundamentally changing. And I think there's say a lot of the rote tasks that we may do in our day to day are going to severely decrease or just go away entirely in the near future. So there very much will be a change. But what we're actually seeing happen, so like there's a jurisdiction that one of the larger jurisdictions in California we're going to start to pilot with later this month. They have almost 25% open headcount on their team right now because they can't fill enough seats for permit techs and plan checkers and the like. And then we have another customer who just hired 5 new plan examiners who actually, a lot of them came from like permit tech backgrounds, and they're using Ichi and AI to help expedite the education of those individuals. And based on the track that they're on, they're seeing those individuals up level their skills 2 to 6 times faster than they could before, not because they're using AI as a crutch, but because it's enabling them to find and navigate this complex information with the exact language of the code far easier and faster than they ever could before. So I think actually what we're going to see is less of the rote like administrative side or repetitive side of the work, and but we still need the skilled individuals to be able to understand the nuances of the code, the discretion of them, the really technical, like detailed stuff. And also, we still need people to provide a really high quality of service to our communities. Just now, we'll be doing it with a lot better information and clearer information than we ever could have before. And so, I think, Jessica, thank you so much for raising that question. If you have any follow-ups on it, please feel free to drop it in. Let's see, I'll take a couple additional questions. Like what city, county jurisdictions are you currently using AI for plan review? So we just started, like from our vantage point, like we just started bringing Ichi to market in February of this year. Now we work with a number of different like counties and cities across the state, and also have like over 20 active pilots going. And so, as an example, like Tuolumne County or Beverly Hills or San Luis Obispo, or San Bruno and the like Menlo Park's Fire District. Um, there's a number of folks, and then there's also a number of larger jurisdictions like piloting Ichi, like Fremont and Long Beach and others as well. And then San Francisco, who I don't think is using something yet, but they just had their RFI for permitting, which is really focused on AI, and so like they'll even be adopting it soon. So it's really becoming pervasive across the state. We've demoed, I think, to like close to 80 jurisdictions in the last few months, so it's been pretty extraordinary to see the adoption coming up really fast. Let's see, let's take one additional question. Oh, great, Tim, thank you for asking Jessica's question that she's trained on. Great. Oh, and then yeah. Oh, one thing. Yeah. How are you guys different from upcodes? The Yeah. I don't want to spend too much time talking about other folks in market, but just in terms of like some of the differences. There's I say like the way that we navigate the codes. Like we also have a deep focus on municipal codes and laws and a whole bunch of other data. But a big part is like how we work with the construction documents. And there's a number of things in Ichi where we're marrying the codes, we're marrying the construction documents, and also marrying like collaborative tooling in an easy to use interface to help people get their jobs done better, faster, and more effectively. So I think it'll be a little bit more apparent when we jump into the product. Great. Well, please keep dropping questions in. Why don't I move forward in the presentation so we can get to the demo, and then as we get to the end of the demo, we will also be sharing like a QR code and access link for everyone on this call. So historically with Ichi, we've kept it closed where we have to have conversations with every jurisdiction that's going to use it. Special for CALBO today, we have a link that we're going to share with you all to be able to get access today and start piloting it out. And then we're happy to follow up with you as well. So that'll come at the end of the demo. So a few introductory notes, and then we'll jump into the product. AI can support building departments if used thoughtfully with the right safeguards. And we're going to look at Ichi as an example of this. And a few key things to note about Ichi is it was built alongside experienced plan examiners, inspectors, building officials at third-party plan review consultancies and jurisdictions Like we meet with professionals every single week to help improve the quality of responses and accuracy in the product. And Ichi's goal isn't to replace you, it's to be the co-pilot to help you do your work better, faster, and with more clarity and confidence. And it will act like a research assistant, technical editor, and code savvy teammate all rolled into one. One way to think about Ichi is that it works a bit like a GPS layered over the maps of your city. So if you think of like the codes and the construction documents as maps, Ichi's not looking to replace them. We're not training new models to create new ones. We're building a really smart system that knows how to navigate all of those in a unique and powerful way. That's part of how we also maintain copyright protections for people that use Ichi. And our proprietary purpose-built technology like works seamlessly on codes, construction documents, and a number of other factors. Something else to note is that like our name Ichi is the Japanese word for the number one, and it also means city or town square in historical context. And the reason that we named the company this is that it's a nod to our pragmatic intention behind our mission to help create cities of the future. And it's also an aspirational goal to create a greater sense of unity across everyone involved in this work. So from jurisdictions to architects to contractors to inspectors, we believe that AI can help bridge some of the gaps and reduce the adversarial dynamics that sometimes exist in these processes. We're proud today that Ichi is being used by professionals across a number of different jurisdictions, architecture firms, engineering firms doing some of the most demanding and high stakes work in the built environment. As noted earlier from the questions, like we now work across a number of jurisdictions in California. We're starting to work more broadly across the country. And yeah, today we have active pilots running with 4 of the top 20 largest jurisdictions in California. Are going to kick off with a 5th later this month. And so everything's moving really quickly, which is great. And our primary customers are jurisdictions, specifically building departments, planning, fire prevention teams. And today people are using Ichi every day across like basically all the different roles. So like permit techs, building officials, fire marshals, plan examiners, code enforcement officers, inspectors, and the like. And as noted, in addition to jurisdictions, we also support a growing number of architects, engineers, and real estate developers, and also starting to work with some equipment manufacturers. And so everyone, the way we see it is everyone involved in code compliance can benefit from better access to code knowledge and documentation and faster turnaround times. It's all kind of two sides of the same coin in terms of the problems that I face. And so without further ado, why don't let's give me a moment to pause my screen here, and then I'm going to switch to the product. And yeah, we'll keep this demo to like 15 minutes or less, and then that will leave some additional time for questions at the end. Great. So this is Ichi, and the easiest way to show you how it works is just to jump into it. And I'm going to start by asking a question. What is the max height in feet and stories of a R1 5B non-sprinklered building with some misspellings in it? And the Ichi is a web-based application, and so there's no installation required for it. You're able to use it through any web browser, access it through either your Microsoft SSO login or just through your email. And I always like to start with this question because this is a progressive demo. I'm going to show you some of the research elements. I'm going to show you how it can help with work product generation, language translation, and then even show you how Ichi can work with your phone, photos, and across a number of construction documents. And so when we look at this answer here around height of a building, first you see Ichi's chain of thought. These are the codes that Ichi read through that I thought may be relevant to answer this question. And then what we'll see is at first there's the factual answer to the question, 40 feet and 2 stories. But where the technology is heading as we build more and more intelligence is thinking forward to how you may want to use this information. And so as an example here, this is really only relevant in existing occupancies because new group R occupancies are required to have fire sprinklers as part of CPC 903.2.8. this is great, this is helpful, but how do you trust it? So every code reference in Ichi, we have the specific codes mentioned, we have citations, we have direct links to those codes that you can access in seconds. And we work on licensing agreements. Like we have like a first of its kind, very broad agreement with the ICC to be able to access like almost all its codes. And we're working on additional licensing agreements with other code publishers as well. And the access to these codes, it could be text, it can be tables. And so you have a sense of what you're looking at here too, is it can be available in a full screen mode. This is what it would look like on your computer. Um, this is what it would look like on your, your mobile phone. And, it's camera here. And so if you're out in the field, you get access to the same information in Ichi if you want to be able to see these, see the code sections and the like. So no matter where you are, you're able to use Ichi for these purposes. Building on the demo, I want to drop in this next question here. I'm going to start pasting them in so it goes a little bit more quickly. I'm in what we call the California Fremont Code Group. And so in Ichi, we operate where with every state or with some municipalities, and we're adding new municipalities every single week, we build a group of codes for that municipality across state codes, municipal ordinances. Also, we're starting to integrate California laws like health and safety codes or planning and zoning and the like. And this is an interesting question because in this Fremont code group, this is one where it's touching on green building codes, but there's also some specific Fremont amendments that will override the base code. And one of the pieces of feedback that we received from the inspectors at Fremont is part of what they like is that Ichi will show its work. And so in the work that we all do, what we see is that people don't just want the factual answer. You need to be able to give people the reason for why behind it. And so this is where, as it relates to this question, this is where it's noting that Fremont has like specific municipal amendments as part of their 154840, 50, and 60 as it relates to how EV parking would be applied in various situations. And so the way I was non-specific with my question, so Ichi was answering related to residential, non-residential, and the like. And an important thing to consider as well, especially with the impacts of AB 306 coming, especially with the impacts of AB 306 coming, is we can help you handle your amendments regardless of how it impacts your code adoption, because we can import your new codes in minutes or hours and then enable everyone on your team to be able to navigate this information really, really easily and effectively. I want to drop in one additional research question, and then we'll get into how Ichi handles work product. With these research questions that you see, like impacts that we've heard from our customers is like within 3 weeks of using Ichi, senior plan examiners were receiving 50% as many questions from permit techs, 50% as many questions from inspectors, because those individuals were more empowered to help answer things on their own. And when they did have questions, they were of richer, higher quality because it wasn't starting from a cold start. And this is where it's really quite amazing, like when you have a system that you can trust, just what you're able to do and the power of that. To also like really illustrate this trust, because no system is going to be perfect. We have some future versions of Ichi where we're working on some like larger automated workflows. And we've ran Ichi against like IBC exams or against 176 different questions, where Ichi's accuracy is over 97% correct in terms of answering the exams. Like it would easily pass like almost any license or certification exam today. When we look at this question here, what are the venting requirements for a 900 square foot crawl space? I like to ask this one because I picked a quantitative value, so I'm implying to Ichi I wanted to do some help me with my math. And two is I was non-specific if this was residential or non-residential. And so Ichi was aware of that, let me know, gave me a quick summary of this, and then we'll walk through each of these examples in terms of like natural ventilation or with a vapor retarder. And it's also flagging down here that this is part of the CBC in 1202.4.1 or in the CRC as part of like R408. And this is where the educational component comes in a lot, because as say I'm a newer member of the team, I may not know that. Ichi's able to show me this broader perspective. I can highlight anything here in Ichi, and if I highlight this, I can say learn more. which will be like layers of the onion that will expand and teach me more on a given topic. Like real example, we had an inspector say, "Hey, this is my first time doing like a main main residential electric panel replacement," and say, and what are 10 things I need to consider for it? And Ichi was able to build them that list of 10, and then they can highlight it and dig in to learn more. The other thing that you see me doing here is for comment generation. And so all I did was select a portion of Ichi, select generate code comment, and Ichi will generate clear, succinct, usable code comments in seconds. Or you see here a reference CBC and CRC. I told it I want CRC only, and it just edits it in about 5 seconds. We even have a specific mode just for generating code comments. This has had a huge impact on teams where some of our customers are reporting about 50% time reduction to complete certain parts of their reviews. Now, that's just one part of the work product generation. I want to drop in this next prompt where I'm telling Ichi that I'm a plan examiner, I'm working with a challenging architect who is designing an addition to their apartment building but doesn't want to install new EV parking. So this is related to a conversation that we had just a few minutes ago here in Ichi. And now I'm asking Ichi to draft me an email helping to explain the situation for this individual. And where this is really helpful, I think a lot of folks are seeing like AI tools enable them to generate content, which is awesome. Where Ichi is rooted in the code, it's not searching the internet for a whole bunch of random bits of information it could find and trying to piece it together. It's referencing the exact language of the code itself, municipal amendments, state codes, state laws, and the like, to craft high quality content in seconds. And this gets to that generation part that we talked about in the presentation before, where it can take humans 5 to 10 times as long to create something than it does to edit something. And so this is not just for generating that initial content, but it's also for translating this into other languages. And so Ichi will translate complicated code concepts to nearly 100 different languages. And this example I'm showing you here is for Spanish and Cantonese. Real example, there was an inspector in one of the jurisdictions using Ichi who out in the field was working with a contractor where Cantonese was their primary language. He pulled up Ichi, had the inspector speak Cantonese into his phone, and then Ichi would respond in English and in Cantonese. So what would have been something that the inspector would have had to go back to their desk, spend a few hours, spend a good amount of time to write a response email, go back and forth, deal with the language barrier as well as the misunderstanding of the code. They were able to resolve in minutes out in the field and move the project forward. So really, really powerful. The next thing that I want to show you is starting to move on how Ichi works with different files and construction documents. And so I'm going to take my camera off here for a second. I put Ichi into a mobile view on my phone, and I just took a picture of a hot water tank in my basement, and now I'm going to talk into my phone. Is this the correct water heater for what's indicated in the PC2 plans? So here, I'll turn my camera off so you can see the full screen. And you can see what this looks like. This is a hot water tank we have in our basement here. And prior to this demo, we uploaded, this is a full permit application from a real project in a Bay Area jurisdiction. And it includes plan sets and comment letters, response letters, like cycle 1, cycle 2. It also has structural calculations and equipment specifications and the like. So spoiler alert, this hot water tank is definitely not in these documents. But what's really powerful about this is it's real-time communication between my phone and the browser. So say you're a building official or a supervising inspector and you're at the office, you have an inspector out in the field, you can see immediately what they see the photos that they see, and the code interpretation. And what's amazing is like Ichi was able to figure out that the water heater photo that was in the image is this Rheem Proterra hybrid electric hot water heater, and that's correct. However, in the plan set, it noted that it was these Takagi gas-powered water heaters. And where did it find that information? From the plumbing schedule here. And even more specifically, here's the details. Here's this Takagi 81% efficiency eco-model water heater and the other one that it found. And so this is an extremely extremely powerful part of the tool, showing the integration between images and things in the field, or you can even take photos of details in construction documents and have that relate to the other documents that you already have. So as an example, say a permit application comes in, you get that into Ichi, it takes about 30 seconds. It's very, very quick. That will process in a few minutes and it will stay in Ichi in perpetuity. And then months later, after it's been reviewed, after the permit's been approved and it's out in the field, inspectors can just load up that project in Ichi, see the plan review comments, see the responses, see the plans, and then in real time be able to send in photos or other information and have that correlate against the plans, and also check for code compliance items. This next thing that I'm demoing for you here is building on the water heater. This was a question we didn't come up with, actually. It was one of our customers during a demo. They were like, hey, actually, can you just check to see if the equipment specs for the water heaters like match the energy report or not? And we didn't know the answer to it. And what was really fascinating to see when Ichi did its analysis, and I'll show you here, and I asked Ichi in this case to look at the energy report, look at the plan set. It's about 65 pages of documents. And people upload plan sets that are hundreds of pages long or other docs that are thousands of pages long, is it finds these Takagi model numbers on the plumbing schedule, just as we saw before. But then in the energy report that it was calling for small gas, two small gas instantaneous water heaters, 0.94 UEF. And what it noted is that in the equipment specs, it was actually this 81 and 93%. So it was mismatch. And then gas input was partially there. But the other thing that was really interesting that it called out is that the plans call for these eco model numbers. And that's where you see here this like eco H200 model. But in the equipment specifications that were included, it's these TK model numbers. And that's just really extraordinary to see that in this particular, and once again, this is a real permit application, that the specs that were indicated on the cycle 2 review in the plan set didn't meet energy compliance. Furthermore, the equipment spec sheet that was included in the submittal was not what was actually referenced in the plan set. And we could all imagine the downstream consequences of this. If this equipment was installed, they have to rip it out, you have to get a special exemption. All of this creates time, delays, heartache, and challenges. The last thing I want to demo for you here is having Ichi help with a structural calculations. And so again, this was something that one of our customers came up with to demo, and they wanted to check, has the PC2 seismic base shear calculation been done correctly? And so when Ichi checks here, first it found these calculations on page 23 of the structural calculations. And this is I think a 27 or 29 page document. It was able to find these. And noting here, W96K, SDS 1.54, 22,880, 16,010. And Ichi's showing its work where it's pulling the load, SDS, and other values. Ichi then does its own calculation. And so you see here where it did its own calculation, 16,016, compared it to the 16,010 that was in the report, and noted that it's a negligible difference, so it matches. The other thing that was really interesting is it's pulling out the seismic parameters, not just from here where SDS is labeled, but also from the structural sheet in the plan set to cross-reference those. And in the PC2, this is listed as 1.54. We're limited on time, so I can't show it to you, but in the cycle 1, it was actually flagged as 1, which is why it was bubbled and changed. And so this is just a really small taste of what Ichi is able to do today, and the direction that we're taking the product. And we're also now, starting to get into a greater level of like automation through workflows and much more robust ways of navigating various construction